Moving into our overvalued players, Lawrence, who is your first man up?
Justin, I almost said Jefferson. Um, Definitely not Justin Jefferson. He is correctly valued, but it's gonna be Justin Herbert for me, man. I From a fantasy perspective, from a real football perspective, I just feel like, fans and media and fantasy players. So this is not Justin Herbert's fault. It's the fans, the media, the fantasy players. We are wanting him to be something that he is not yet. At least he's not that yet. Now, his first couple years, he lit it up from a fantasy perspective. Took a dip last year, went to quarterback 15 on a points per game basis. Now I'm all cool with saying he could bounce back. However, what has drastically changed to, make us believe that, especially with the other quarterbacks that we got out there who could pick up some yards on the ground? You drafted Quentin Johnston. Now, if I've heard folks say that, hey, Quentin Johnson, he's ready to go right now. So is Keenan Allen chopped liver? Is Mike Williams chopped liver? I know they be hurt sometimes, especially Mike Williams, but what has drastically changed? Oh, the offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, who's supposed to be all airing it out and stuff like this. Dak Prescott was 12th in the league in check down percentage. That's pretty high. Justin Herbert himself was second in check down percentage and led the league in check downs last season. So you may get some new plays. You may get a new play caller calling the plays. But Kellen Moore can't go inside Justin Herbert's brain and make him start throwing the ball deep. He got Austin Eckler right there. Are we going to take away from Austin Eckler? Because he just had a career high 127 targets. Now, I don't expect him to see that number again, but are you going to cut that in half to start throwing the ball deep? I don't know. So if Justin Herbert does play to the ADP of quarterback seven, hell no. Look, if he plays to that ADP, somebody else like Austin Eckler has to suffer, right? If we're airing the ball out, then Austin Eckler, that'll be tough for him to be the RB2 or the RB3 in fantasy football. So, like, I'll straight up rather have Anthony Richardson in fantasy than Justin Herbert in fantasy in 2023. Just a little bit. That's overvalued for me, man. Especially based on what he done last year and what the Chargers think they've done to correct that. We're going on offensive coordinator number 3 for Justin Herbert.
There was like 10 spots in there where I'm like, this is a perfect clip. Someone clip this, put it on Twitter. These are perfect.
Hey, they gonna be mad.
I'm a little tepid on Justin Herbert too. I don't think I'm as scared as you are, but I think I have him slightly below ADP in terms of my best ball rankings, and I don't find myself taking him all that often. The only thing that like really scares me is I think he's got an incredible ceiling. I mean, we already saw it 2 years ago when he topped 5,000 yards and threw 38 touchdowns. Now he's getting a first round receiver. Now he's getting what I think should be a pretty strong offensive coordinator upgrade. I can see the path in which he just posts an absolutely crazy season. Do I think it's all that likely? I don't think so. It's probably why I don't draft him as much. But I will say it scares me to be light on Justin Herbert. I am light on him, but I could see a season where he goes out and, I can see him exceeding that 5,038. He's already done it once, and he's in maybe a better situation. But I agree. The flip side of the coin is he wasn't known as like the highlight reel, deep ball chucking quarterback coming out of college. He was known as game manager plus. I think
he can do it. He has that arm, but that's just not. He don't do that. Like those 5,000 yards he throw for, he throws the ball 40 times a game. That's not an exaggeration. That's literally the average that he's thrown it a game the past 2 years. 40. So it's like, you better throw for 5,000 yards then.
Yeah, I totally agree. Moving on to my next undervalued player, Najee Harris, RB12, 37th overall. I've seen people say, like, oh, well, he really started to pick things up when he got the plate taken out of his foot. And he did get better. But I mean, his numbers were still rough. He, I believe, got it removed before week 6. And from week 6 onward, he was 31st in yards after contact per attempt, 44th in breakaway percentage, 38th in plain old yards per carry, 25th in PFF rushing grade. These are overvalued. Producer Adam said I misspoke. These are overvalued players in that you could maybe tell because I'm reading you some concerning stats on Najee Harris. And like going back to what I know Denny is screaming at his podcast players, like, I don't care if he's good. He's going to get the ball a lot. I'm a little concerned that not that he doesn't lead this backfield in carries and probably lead it in targets, but that Jaylen Warren is good enough to put him into the sort of territory we saw with Zeke over the past few years, where in 2020 and 2021, Tony Pollard was very obviously more efficient than Zeke. He did not get the ball nearly as much as Zeke, but with Zeke's efficiency struggling, you needed Zeke to get all of the carries and all of the targets because that was just the volume times efficiency, and his cost mandated that happen. And we already saw this happen last year with Jaylen Warren taking targets off the table of Najee Harris and the offense moving on from Big Ben to pushing the ball farther downfield and not only checking it down. I'm just not sure we get the absurd snap share, a ton of targets, or all of the carries that you need, or Najee needs to be more efficient just to pay off his cost. I think what he does makes sense for an NFL team. I don't know if I'd spend a first round pick on it, but from a fantasy perspective, I'm not taking the efficiency of him or the lack of every single touch. One of those has to give, or I'm not taking him at cost. So I don't take much Najee these days.
Yeah, I don't have much to add to that because I'm on par with that. Most of my concern is what the same concern you have for Aaron Jones is, except it's even more so here. I don't think the quarterback situation is ideal. I actually mentioned Najee earlier as one of the guys that I wouldn't take over Aaron Jones. So there you go.